Welcome to the chapter on Python Programming Basics for Security Automation. This chapter is designed specifically for beginners who are entering the field of cybersecurity and DevSecOps, and who want to use Python as a practical tool to automate security tasks, conduct tests, and build defensive or offensive scripts in a controlled and authorized environment. Before diving into code, it is essential to understand why Python has become the de facto language in the cybersecurity world. Python is a high-level, interpreted programming language that emphasizes readability and simplicity. It allows professionals to write scripts quickly, test ideas rapidly, and automate repetitive tasks without needing to be a software engineer by trade. Security analysts, penetration testers, and DevSecOps engineers regularly use Python to interact with networks, parse logs, send crafted requests to web applications, automate vulnerability scans, and integrate security checks into delivery pipelines. Let us be clear about what this chapter is and what it is not. This chapter is not a comprehensive Python software development course. It is a targeted introduction to Python programming specifically oriented toward security use cases. You will learn the syntax and core concepts you need to write functional security scripts, understand existing tools written in Python, and eventually customize or build your own automation workflows. Why Python specifically for security automation? Python enjoys a dominant position in the cybersecurity ecosystem for several strong reasons. First, it has an enormous ecosystem of libraries and modules dedicated to security tasks. Libraries such as Scapy, for packet crafting and network analysis, Requests, for making HTTP calls to web applications, Paramiko, for secure shell protocol automation, Impacket, for working with network protocols, and many others are all written in or accessible through Python. Second, Python scripts are easy to read, which matters a lot in professional environments where code must be reviewed, audited, or handed off to colleagues. Third, Python runs on all major operating systems, including Linux distributions commonly used in security contexts such as Kali Linux or Ubuntu. Fourth, the majority of widely used security tools such as Metasploit modules, custom exploitation scripts, fuzzing frameworks, and web scraping utilities are either written in Python or have Python bindings. What are the goals of this chapter? By the end of this chapter, you will be able to understand the fundamental building blocks of Python, variables, data types, operators, conditions, loops, functions, and modules. Write simple Python scripts that interact with files, the network, and web applications. Use Python to automate basic security reconnaissance tasks, such as scanning open ports or sending requests to a web endpoint. Read and understand existing Python security scripts that you will encounter throughout this course and in professional practice. Begin integrating Python scripts into a security workflow, for example by parsing the output of a network scan or formatting data for a vulnerability report. These goals are intentionally focused and practical. The skills you develop here will directly feed into later chapters where you will use Python to interact with tools like Nmap, a network scanning tool, write custom payloads for web application testing, automate parts of a penetration test, and eventually integrate Python-based security checks into a continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. Who is this chapter for? This chapter is designed for adult learners who are transitioning into cybersecurity or DevSecOps roles. You may come from a system administration background, a development background, a network engineering background, or even a completely non-technical background. Regardless of your starting point, this chapter assumes zero prior Python knowledge. Everything is explained from scratch, with concrete examples tied to security context so that you can immediately see the relevance of what you're learning. If you already have some Python experience, this chapter will serve as a useful refresher and will help you reframe your existing knowledge in a security-specific context. Pay special attention to the security-oriented examples and the way Python is used in offensive and defensive scenarios. How this chapter fits into the broader course. The course you are enrolled in, CyberSecurity and DevSecOps Expert, Develop, PenTest, and Deploy Secure Applications, is structured to take you from foundational concepts all the way through to professional-grade skills in penetration testing, vulnerability management, and secure application delivery. Python is a critical enabler throughout this journey. Here are some concrete examples of how Python will appear later in the course. During the web application penetration testing section, you will write Python scripts to automate the sending of malformed inputs to a login form in order to test for SQL injection vulnerabilities. During the network reconnaissance section, you will use Python with the Scapy library to craft and send custom packets and analyze responses to identify open ports and running services. During the vulnerability reporting section, you will write Python scripts that parse scan results and generate structured output for inclusion in a professional report. During the DevSecOps pipeline section, You will integrate Python-based static application security testing and dynamic application security testing scripts into an automated build and deployment workflow. During the authentication and session management testing section, you will use Python's request library to simulate user sessions, test for session fixation, and validate that tokens expire correctly. Understanding the scope, what Python will and will not do for you. Python is a tool. Like any tool, it is only as effective as the person wielding it. Writing Python scripts for security automation does not replace the need to understand the underlying security concepts. For example, before you write a Python script to test for cross-site request forgery vulnerabilities, you need to understand what cross-site request forgery is, why it is dangerous, and what a valid proof of exploitation looks like. Python simply helps you execute and automate the technical steps once you have that conceptual foundation. This distinction is important because it defines the learning approach of this course. Python syntax and security concepts are taught together, not in isolation. You will never learn a Python feature in a vacuum. Every concept is introduced alongside a security use case so that you can immediately understand its purpose. A concrete example to set the tone. Consider a very simple scenario. You are a junior penetration tester and you have been asked to verify whether a list of 100 web servers is responding to HTTP requests on port 80. Doing this manually, one server at a time, in a browser or with a single command line tool, would take a very long time. With a simple Python script using the requests library, you can loop through a list of server addresses, send an HTTP GET request to each one, record the response code. For example, 200 means the server responded successfully, 403 means access is forbidden, 404 means the resource was not found, and produce a summary report in a few seconds. This is the kind of practical, immediate value that Python provides in a security context. Another example. Imagine you are reviewing application logs after a suspected intrusion. The logs contain thousands of lines. With Python, you can write a script that reads the log file, searches for specific patterns such as repeated failed login attempts from the same IP address, counts occurrences, and flags suspicious behavior automatically. This is a basic form of log analysis automation that security analysts perform daily. How to approach this chapter as a learner? Because this chapter is foundational, take your time with each concept. Do not rush to copy and paste code without understanding what each line does. Security professionals who blindly run scripts they do not understand are a danger to themselves and to the systems they are supposed to protect. Understanding the code means you can adapt it, debug it, explain it to a client, and defend its use in a professional or legal context. As you work through the material, ask yourself constantly, how would this apply to a real security task? What could go wrong if I misuse this script? What ethical and legal boundaries apply to this kind of automation? These questions are not just academic. In penetration testing, you always operate within an explicitly authorized perimeter. Python scripts, like any other tool, must only be used on systems you have written permission to test. Summary of this introductory section. To summarize what has been covered in this welcome and goals section, Python is the primary scripting language used in cybersecurity and DevSecOps automation. This chapter targets beginners with no prior Python experience and focuses exclusively on security-relevant use cases. The learning goals include mastering Python fundamentals, writing functional security scripts, reading existing tools, and integrating Python into a security workflow. Python will be used throughout this course for reconnaissance, web application testing, log analysis, vulnerability reporting, and pipeline automation. Python is a tool that amplifies your security skills but does not replace conceptual understanding or ethical responsibility. Every script you write must be used within an authorized and legal context. You are now ready to begin your Python journey in the context of cybersecurity and DevSecOps. The skills you build in this chapter will be the foundation upon which all subsequent technical work rests. Approach the material with curiosity, discipline, and a security mindset from the very first line of code.